Okay, this is the, oh, I'm a little tired today. The final series, the final installment of putting our database on inflation rates and exchange rates together. And I still want to explain this a little better. So this is a model, and this model has nothing to do with the database right now. This is a kind of cool thing we made where we put all these SPV together. We had a separate model of a whole bunch of different SPVs, and each of the SPVs was then consolidated up, and there was all sorts of exchange rate risks and everything else. And all I'm trying to show you here is when we made our kind of assumptions sheet, and here the green sheet was the one that drove this, had some general assumptions about inflation rates, and if we put kind of a base case in, we get some assumptions, and then we had a worst case where we had higher inflation and some real kind of devaluation or less devaluation in this case on top of the exchange rates. And then if, just to show you the results of this, when you do the risk analysis, this is a data tail, takes forever to do. When we put in this kind of currency devaluation and added devaluation, and you can see that if you look at the IRR in euros, you can see that that had a pretty dramatic effect. Here's kind of the, I don't know if I want to say that. This was the worst case and the base case. It didn't have that dramatic effect actually, but what the heck. It had some effect. Maybe we didn't do that. And what you would do then is, let me pause this because I'm going to open the other model. So this is the analysis for Egypt, showing kind of that there was a large devaluation in 2004 relative to the PPP exchange rate, and then kind of devaluation didn't happen. It doesn't have the real recent history, which is much more interesting. Do I have it perhaps here? No, the data just isn't so good, I guess, for Egypt. And remember, if we want to see the kind of, if we just want to get a little bit background on what happened to the inflation rate in Egypt, we use our thing here, and we see, well, okay, what has been the inflation rate? It's gone up and down. My gosh, it was 20%, and then it was, seems to be about here 10%, and it was up and down. So at least you can get some background. I don't know how you're going to make a forecast of that. I don't claim to say how you do that. You can get some other stuff, but okay, so that's that. And now the rest of this video is going to go through all the details of really how to make the graphs, and I think I put some additional comments on really how you use this sort of analysis, which I want to do much more in the, if I ever make any future videos. Okay, there's a little bit of a background noise. I'm sorry about this, but where we left off is we were able to kind of compile all the data. What I didn't show you is, well, to get the PPP, take the last begin by taking the exchange rate, and after that, well, multiply that one by 1 plus the inflation rate, the local inflation rate, and then divide that by 1 plus, since these are all expressed in terms of USD, then divided by that one. Now you get a different answer when you kind of do it differently. So let's take the just basic CPI. We have to use an index little thing here. And then all I did was say, okay, we'll move the exchange rate here, this is just this one, put an equal sign, I hope. And then an equal sign there, and then we have our little NA thing here. So we just select the, the F11 key, and we have our Alt-EL, I'm deleting the old one, and we have our graph. Now, okay, in designing the graph, we can change the chart type and make it a line. Okay, I think that might be a little bit better. And then we can see kind of this was one of the ideas behind doing this. We can start at different places. Okay, so I'll just copy our little thing here. Now, I installed Excel 2016. I don't know if I had some bad copy or something. It didn't work. Now, in 1997, that's when the Asian crisis occurred, and that's when you see this enormous kind of, you don't think it's a big difference, but here you're standing at the same time. There was certainly a increase in the inflation rate, which would cause the PPP to go up, but the actual one went up enormously much more. So if we kind of just do it there, we can really see it. Now, if we would start after the currency crisis, then it looked like, oh, everything's okay. But the problem is, if you wrote a PPA contract before that, people had a doubling here of the electricity price, not in nominal terms, in real terms. The amount in real terms. If you index this to the USD, you would have had an enormous real price increase. Now, if we wanted to kind of get it a little fancier, we might want to put a title here, and we'll put PPP exchange rate, and we'll put what we're really using. So I think here I just remember when we did we did it together. Remember when we did this together and we put the add text function. That's what I was looking for. And then right here we can also put the second one, how we define the consumer price index. And then we can take these two things and see how our analysis would change if we get some other data, because this data never seems to be all that clean. So we just can put this in. Let's see how that works. Okay. And then we'll just put the, if you just press Control and this one and maybe this one, we'll just throw that into the chart. Okay. Now, when you do this, I strongly suggest saving the file. Okay. We have the Indonesia CPI, and we have to say, is that an index or just a regular thing? Okay. And we see kind of the effect of it. Okay. Now, if we would try the second one, well, that didn't really work because that wasn't an index. That didn't work either. Oh, shoot. And then let's try the third one. That one gave about the same result. So just let me pause this. Oh, that doesn't look so good. Okay, the mistake I made was not a bad one. Not that bad this time. And it's kind of an excusable one this time. When you just keep going for some reason, it puts a really it just keeps going after the NAs, and then when you do that, then it just screws up the scale with this. That's kind of a problem with this NA method. The scale is not limited to the high side of the scale is not limited to the data for which you do not have an NA function. Okay, so let's try this for somebody else. Try the Philippines exchange rate. In the Philippines, CPI. And there we have the same sort of thing. It's kind of interesting that, particularly in Asia, you had these things. So, it's the kind of, we had this big deviation in the exchange rate. It kind of came back. That's what's interesting, but it never completely came back. I suppose it's a little bit affected by, a lot affected by where you start. Okay, so you can say, well, if I started here in 85, it went dipped, and in 97, but this is a big difference. 40 versus, how much is this? 60. That's kind of the difference. Let's try somebody else. Let's just do Europe versus US. So we put the euro exchange rate in, and then they give you the euro CPI. Okay. UK, I don't care about them after the Brexit. Okay. Oops. And how far back can we go on this one? Goes back. Now I think this shouldn't have been an index. So you can kind of see that there was a deviation. It's not nearly as kind of an extreme. That's the euro versus the dollar kind of exchange rate. The blue one is the exchange rate, and the other one's the PPP rate. Okay, it kind of eventually gets back. All right, now we're going to make one more analysis, and that's an analysis of another graph where we just show the change in the exchange rate compared to the change in the CPI. All right, just a minute. And to make the change in the exchange rate, just put change, percent change, and do our standard thing. We'll put the log ln of the exchange rate in this period versus the last period. That's just our continual log, and shift control, if you want to put it as a percentage, shift control D, so a couple of the items, and then we put that's our exchange rate. Okay, and then we'll make another graph. So here's what I would do. Let's go to the top to make sure I'm not kind of screwing anything up. Okay, and let's put our x-axis, let's get the same x-axis. Shift Control 3, and hopefully the NAs will still be at the bottom. Good. And then we put the percent change in how about exchange rate change, and then we'll put the inflation rate. Okay, so we might just want to see kind of how the exchange rate changes when we change the inflation rate. Now we have, we'll have to start it down here. Here's the exchange rate change and the inflation rate change. And maybe we could even put the USD inflation rate. Okay, because really it's the relative to the USD that you're worried about. USD inflation rate is here. See, in 1980 that was a really high inflation rate. Okay, Shift Control P. Now, just in case, you might have some funny little thing happening right at the very end. Didn't in this case, but we should kind of maybe do the same thing. If this is true, then we'll put it in. Okay, and if I'm just too lazy to turn off the video right now. If it's true, then we do this. If it's true, then we do it. Okay, and now we'll present these ones. Okay, and I'm not sure what's really going to happen with that very first thing. I don't think it will be a serious issue. So I don't know if you like this kind of thing here. This is the exchange rate. Perhaps this one should be a line graph. Okay, and I'm not going to worry too much about that one. Okay, so what should happen is that this should change according to the you know, the difference in the inflation rates. Now I'm not going to put all the stuff together right now. There's one more thing you could do is if you want to compare a bunch of different exchange rates together, what we could do is make a list box. Okay, so let's say I want to you know, and maybe it's worth a new thing. No, maybe we'll see. I'm debating whether it's worth a new sheet, perhaps. So I'm gonna do multiple series. Okay, and what we might want to do is just compare a whole lot of exchange rates. Now to do this, we're going to get this developer tab and then put a list box. Okay, and this list box will go to the same sort of thing we did before. It'll go to all of these different inflation rates and exchange rates. And the idea is to use a multiple selection and allow you to just to pick some other things. You know, it looks like a list box, but in a way it's really a lot better. Okay, so let's say I want to compare the U.S. CPI with not with the euro exchange rate, but the euro CPI, and I want to compare it with, for some reason, India, you know, that CPI. And we could do the same thing with the exchange rates, and then put this on a graph. Okay, now to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to cheat and copy and find a place where we did this before, get the macro. Once we get the macro, then we're going to have a little range name that just we have to output the data to a ranged name, and then we collect all the data together. So just a minute. Now I did this in this file called read currencies. I think I'm not sure what order I'm doing the kind of things, but I did this. You know, the videos. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna, this video you'll see before or after, it really doesn't matter. I happen to find one, I pick this up, and I just make sure, okay, let's just take this thing that says list box change and see that it goes into something called list out one. Okay, so we're going to right click. Oops, I thought I right clicked. I did one of the things that I wasn't supposed to and make a new macro. The nice thing about a new macro, it says it's list box 1. So once you copy it, all you have to do is delete the bottom and the top, of course. Not really, of course, but you know that. And then you just change it where it says list box 2 to list box 1. And I put some comments in here, you know, that. And then we need to make a little we need to make a little range name so the stuff can go to the range name. So we go and say, okay, well, let's say how many? Let's get 15. So put 1 and go down about 15. Now there's 15. Alt-IS, enter. S, enter. That was slow, and I'm going to copy this to the right, I don't really need this because we're going to delete it, but for right now I'm going to call it list out 1. That's what we're doing. Okay, and now once we put this in, it puts all the stuff we had. Now, the only thing, if you noticed, it didn't delete all of the stuff, so we really should make one more change. And the change we should make is where it says 10, we should make this to 15. Okay, and then now it goes all the way down. Okay, and it takes, I suppose, a little bit longer than I wanted to. Perhaps we should, and maybe I just want to see the UK CPI versus the US CPI versus the Indonesia CPI. We want to make those all work. Okay, and then what we can do is do sort of the same thing we did before, which is right now we'll just put a match of this. That's really not what we did before at all. Against the entire column C and put a 0. Okay, that tells you the row number. Okay, and I don't think it's bad to have a NA this row number. I hope you can predict what we'll do once we have the row number. Then we'll make an index because we have a match. And this time we don't need any of this, but we can get the start. Okay, and we can, if I go to the right page, excuse me, we'll put that in here. And I hope did I do that right? Well, I don't know what happened there, but it should have given me a date. Okay, let's try it again. Index. And since we pick the entire row number, we go to G. And I'm going the wrong way again. And we put the same row number in. And I'm going to pause and see why it didn't give us the proper date here, okay? Okay, there was a minor thing wrong. Excuse me, I keep making these mistakes, but I had 2 CPIs in the same thing, so I had to move this over one. Excuse me, really, for that. Okay, I can make that smaller, so it doesn't look so bad. And then on the UK CPI thing, it actually started in year 1600. That wasn't so good. And finally, I put a little thing in here. If you want to see it really quickly, I said, okay, if you make it first, just get the base, what the calculation used to be, then make it manual, and then put it back to what it was up here. Okay? So right now we have formulas that are set to automatic except manual, so it goes much faster. If we want this one to be there, you see how much faster it is, I hope. Okay, and then we're just finished. Okay, now the only thing we can do now is we're going to put all of these things on a graph. Okay, and to do that, we really are going to get the minimum, the same thing we got the minimum before, and then just put an indirect function around it. So I'm going to turn the video off again because I want to keep this reasonable. And then we'll put this on the graph and show you how it all works, okay? Okay, let's just do a little bit on the minimum and maximum when you have to adjust the NA. Now I've already done this for the minimum NA. I'm speaking quickly, and I'm going to do the same thing for the maximum NA just so you see how it works. It's kind of like that other function we made for Add text, we read in a series, we put in the maximum NA and make it a minus of a really, really tiny number. And then we go to around the series. If the series is greater than the maximum, then the maximum is equal to the series. Okay, that's how easy it is. But you put this if statement in to make sure that you avoid all those stupid NAs. Okay, so we put equal max NA and select this. And I didn't even check it, but oops, Shift Control 3. And the biggest we have is 1 January of 2008. 68, so we put the date of the year, yeah, this one, and then how about +1, and then we'll put 12/31. So we'll start with the kind of the end of that year, all right? I think we didn't need to put +1. We'll start with the end of that year. And then we said that this is going to be a monthly analysis, so we put EO month, and we go up to this one, and we put 12. Okay, and we're not going to worry too much about if we have to go down too many, so let's go down by, I'm not doing daily, but I don't know. If it's quarterly, we better go down to about 300, I think. This was kind of idiotic. That's the whole idea, that you don't have to do this kind of thing, but whatever. And then, so that's our time function thing. So the only thing I didn't do is press the F4 here. And then we're going down by year. Okay, and then we'll put over here, this is the start, and this is the end. Okay, and then we go into these ones, and we can put the minimum and the maximum here. So we probably don't want to go too far. Whoops! Oh, this, when you put this minimum and maximum, does this kind of crap sometimes. Maybe somebody will help me there. And it doesn't have anything to do with volatile application volatile or anything else. So what we're going to do is whenever it's greater than this, so we're going to stop. So we're going to just make this date has to be greater than or equal to the minimum date here, because we don't want to take any of this. This date has to be less than or equal to that minimum date. Okay, and then our x-axis will be if this is true, then we take this. Otherwise, we put an NA function. Okay, now the only remaining thing is to then go and start putting our things here. Okay, so we said we're going to do up to 15. So 1, 2, 3. I'm looking at this thing over here. I'm going to go up to 15. And I'm going to use the transpose function and get all of the stuff here. Okay, and then we put equal indirect. We put equal lookup. And we put indirect. And we put a double inverted comma, single inverted comma, double inverted comma, and sign. Press the F4 key a few times to get it just on the 6, and sign double inverted single, this one, and then we look up in column A. Okay, and before we do that, we have to say we're going to look up this date. Okay, and then, whoops. Okay, we're not quite finished. We're going to put the F4 function a couple of times on there. Right, just like that. And then we have to then also put a indirect. And we're going to see if we can practice it. Double inverted comma, single, double, and sign. Go up to the name, F4 twice, double, single, exclamation point, B colon B, double, and you sont fini, et ça c'est la fuck. And then hopefully we can just copy that across. So there we have it. We've got all of our kind of things. Okay. I'm not sure we can keep going. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I'm not sure what we'll do with the reference. Perhaps I'll put an if error, and then let's just make a graph of this stuff. Let's first just do this one. Press F11. And now once we have this graph, which I might not like, and we might make a line graph, you know, then see, we have US, UK, Euro, Indonesia, US. I have a feeling some of these are percent changes and all that. I have to fix the thing a little bit, but then we'll put a list box into this and go, and it has to be a new list box. We're going to have to kind of copy the function over. But once we put this list box in here, and you know what I'm going to do is change the names of the things a little bit and redo them. You know, this I'll make very clear whether we've got, instead of CPI1, I'll put whether it's an inflation rate and so forth. So this will be a multi, and then we'll go to assign macro, put a new macro. This is, for some reason, it skipped to being chart 4, list box 4. We copy this, and when we copy this, you know, these things we don't need really anymore. These things that this took it to an address. We'll put active chart dot select, so it kind of gives us a right little thing. And I'm gonna this thing, I never quite know what to do, if I should put list box 1 or if I should put chart 4 underscore list box 1. Let's try this. I'll bet you it won't work. Okay, let's see what it did. Actually, it actually did work. We had 3 things here, and now I just have to understand why this didn't work. Okay, I thought I was taking this from this year, and we have a little bit of a problem, okay, with this. Oh no, this UK CPI one was this horrible one that started in the 1600s. So we can take that off. So it actually kind of did work, except we should be very explicit on what's a inflation index, and well, it's not. And I'm stopping the video because that kind of shows you how easy it is, really. We're at 25 minutes.